Biggest mistake I've ever made in the investing? Gosh, I made all of them really. Also in life too, but investing. Probably the biggest mistake, the first big mistake taught me a lot. The very first big mistake happened when I was 22 years old, 1994. And I lost everything with one trade. And it taught me a lot. And actually what happened is there used to be a guy who worked at the firm. He was a technical analyst. He was a mentor to me. I worked for him. I won't say his name, but he was a doctor. And remember, I grew up poor and welfare, food stamps, all this other stuff. I remember the first time I started working as his assistant, he'd wear this Patek Philippe watch, which somebody told me was worth 20 grand. And he lived in a condo right in Central Park South. To me, this was like, wow, this guy is really the real deal. He was a technical analyst and he used to teach me charts. And back then, charts used to come in the mail once a week from Investors Business Daily. And he'd have me sit down there every single day with the top 100, 200 charts with a little ruler and a little pencil. And I'd have to mark in what the price did that Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, until they sent us another batch of charts the following week. It was really interesting. Anyway, so I put this guy on a pedestal. To me, he was the guy. And there was one stock he was talking about, I'll never forget this, Comptronics, and the symbol was CMPX. Now, I'm a suspicious person by nature, but I watched him pick winner after winner, month after month. And finally, after seeing enough of these winners, what I did was, he was talking about Comptronics. He loved this stock. It was 22 and a quarter, and it was breaking out. He was like, this thing's going at 30, 35 bucks a share just on the technicals. And he explained all this stuff to me, most of which I didn't understand. And so finally, now by this point, working on Wall Street, I'd saved like $110,000, which made me think I was rich because, I didn't have any nickels to rub together when I was a kid. So I actually bought 5,000 shares of Comptronics. I put everything I had in, and I was engaged at the time. And I didn't tell my then fiance what I did. Because in my mind, I'm going to surprise her by becoming JP Morgan really quickly. I'm going to turn this $110,000 into 200 grand, and I'm going to walk around with a big cigar like the Monopoly Man guy. Anyway, so I put everything into Comptronics, and the true freaking story, I came in, and it was a holiday weekend. I don't remember now, it's 30 years ago. But I remember there was a Friday off, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday we came back to work. Actually, Thursday, Friday off. This is in November of 1994. I come back to work on that Monday. So again, that whole weekend, I'm having delusions of grandeur. I am the new JP Morgan. No one's better than me. I'm going to make a quick $200,000 and I'm going to be off to the races. That Monday morning, I come into the office and everything's fine. The stock is trading at 22 and a quarter, 22, 3/4. Tuesday, I come into the office, everything's fine. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, everything's fine. So the next week, really slow on Wall Street, nothing really happening. Everything's fine. The trade settles. The following Monday, I come into the office. So that Monday, I come into the office, I go to my computer, and I type in CMPX. Now back then, again, we didn't have phones, we didn't have computers at home with stock trade. I had to go to the office to find out where things were. So I go to my Quotron machine, I type in CMPX, and I look at the price, and it says 2 3/4. And I was like, it had prior said 22 3/4. So I looked at it and I kept hitting it. CMPX 2 3/4, 2 3/4. And I was like, what is going on here? So I went to 4 other machines. Now, mind you, I was the guy who got in the office at 7 o'clock. So I was like basically the only one there. And I kept walking to machine after machine. I thought my machine was broken. It can't be 2 1/4, 2 3/4, whatever it was. And then it hit. Then it finally hit. The news services didn't travel that fast back then, but there was fraud at the company. So basically, my entire investment was wiped out. And I was so naive and young in the business. I was like, I remember when people started coming in, everybody would walk in. I'm like, what's going on here? What's going on here? I grabbed them by their lapels. What's going on here? What's going on here? And I remember walking into the trading desk and saying, how can I reverse the trade? How can I reverse the trade? I got to get out of this. And there was no reversing the trade. I owned it. I lost $110,000 in a week, basically 10 days, whatever, 7 or 8 trading days, 5 days. I don't remember exactly, but in days, I lost everything I had on that one trade. And the important thing about this is what it taught me was never trust a chart. That really, so I looked at this analyst, and by the way, this guy who I'd put on such a pedestal with the Patek Philippe, the nice watch, the Central Park apartment, he didn't really have any answers. He just shrugged his shoulders, and I was so angry. How do you not know? How do you protect against this? It was that loss, that $100,000 plus loss, that actually made me say to myself, how do I understand this business? How do I do this and not risk that kind of money? How do I manage it? Who does this at the highest level? And that actually brought me to Warren Buffett, where really it became a study of business analysis. It turned me into a business analyst instead of a technical analyst. So basically, it was that $110,000 loss that set the rest of my life, that subsequently saved me millions of dollars in the future. That $110,000 mistake actually propelled the rest of my career because it put me on the road to Warren Buffett, which I spent 10 years reading all his letters, studying and really adopting that philosophy. And it really changed my life. There's no doubt about it. That was a lot easier than having to sit down with my then fiancée and explain to her what happened to all of our money. But that's another story.